Good afternoon. And yes, it's afternoon on the West Coast and it's afternoon on the East Coast. And we have a great show for you tonight. My teammate, who is right, I just got off the phone with him, Greg Townsend. He's right there, number 93. And myself, who's right there, number 24. We are going to talk about the draft tomorrow and what it takes to be on a Super Bowl team. And there's some great players that have never won a Super Bowl. Great players. And, and there's great players that have won a Stanley Cup or a Major League Baseball, the World Series or an NBA championship or a World Cup. Great players. And it's not fair. I mean, why would someone like myself, who was drafted with Greg Townsend, who's right there, and myself right there, we were drafted in 1983. And in 1983, we had 12 rounds. And today, and you'll see it tomorrow, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific on ESPN, they'll say the first pick is in the of the draft, and I believe it's the Tennessee Titans. I think they're picking first. I think. Any event, we'll go through it. They only have 7 rounds today, so I wouldn't have gotten picked because I got picked in the 8th round. Greg got picked in the 3rd round. Don Mosbar, right there's Don Mosbar. Let me see if I can get him. Don Mosbar, let me move my head. Right there, number 72. He was our 1st round pick. And then right next to him, number 71, was Bill Pickell. And then who else? We had Dokie Williams, number 85, drafted that year. Tony Caldwell, right there. Tony was drafted. Let's see if there's anyone else. I'm probably missing someone. But right now, I think that's our draft class in this picture. I think that's it. And we were very fortunate that Mr. Davis and Coach Flores is right there, right above my ear. There we go. There's Coach Flores. They didn't cut us. They kept us around. And it was an amazing experience, amazing year. And I'm going to, for whatever reason, let me put Greg on the phone here. We're going to get him on the phone here. Let me get him here so he can, at least you'll hear his voice. Let's see if he gets on here. Let's see if he. Hey, Mike. Hey, Greg. I've got you on. I'm live right now, but I'm going to email you the link again, and I'll click share. Let's see. I'm going to.
Now, Mike.
Yep.
Can I do this by the telephone?
Well, you could. No, you actually. It's better to do it on your computer to link up on your computer. So.
That's it. I don't have a computer, Mike.
Oh, you can do it on your phone. Oh, you know what? Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You know what? Let me do this. Let me see if I can get the invite here. Let me do this. I click. I'm just invite. Hold on here, and then I'm going to click. Here's the okay. There it is. And let me see what's the best way. I've got the because I'm not on my iPhone. Do you have an iPhone?
No, I have an Android.
Okay, an Android. That's good. Well, you know what? I'm going to copy it right now. Here we go. Perfect. I am going to click let's see if I do this here. 2. And let me make sure, Greg, this is, I'll tell you, folks, the folks that are tuning in right now, just to let you know, this is why people have engineers, because Greg was a defensive end. I was a running back. I got hit in the head a few too many times. And we need an engineer to do this, but we're going to get it done. Here, I'm going to go here to, Let me go and make sure I got your number here, Greg. Hold on here. I'm going to go like this. Let me see. Hit the keyboard. Go like that. Look your number up. There you are. Okay. And I'm going to type in your number. So I got it here.
Okay.
Hold on. There we go. And we're doing this on the fly, folks. And we got the great Greg Townsend on the other line from Los Angeles. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. 06. I hope our good friend who's our good friend in Santa Rosa? Jerry. Jerry. I hope Jerry's watching. Jerry's going, man, why can't you get this on the dot going?
Jerry said, I have a computer.
I know. Okay, hold on here. I'm going to send this right. So I click that. So I send it there. Okay, now I've got that. Now I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to copy the link on my phone. And this will be interesting. I've never done this, but you're the first person. I've probably done about 50 to 60 on the dots. And this is the first time that this has happened. But you know what? There's always a first.
I know these new podcasts and things that people, they get their guests and they forget their guest is just an older guy. You don't have that savvy to get all that technology just gone by. My kids normally do anything that I do over the computer. My kids normally do it for me.
Right.
So,
well, and when we came out of high school, you went to high school in Southern California. I went to high school in Southern California. And we didn't have computers.
Well, and two, nothing was done by computer then. We still had pencil and pad, and
right.
Everything was done that way, We didn't have email, so we were still sending letters the old way.
Yep, the old-fashioned way.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Okay, let's see if it comes. I'm sending it right now. Okay, tell me if you get it.
How am I going to receive it?
By text.
Okay, gotcha.
You get it?
Well, I got to hang up.
Okay, go ahead and hang up. And if you didn't get it, you should just follow it. Okay, bye. Okay. Well, folks, Greg and I, we first met. Listen to this. We first met in Tokyo, Japan. We were both on the West team. There was a West team and the East team for the Japan Bowl, which was a college all-star game. And Greg graduated from Texas Christian University, TCU, and he taught me that symbol right there is the horned frog. They're the horned frogs. TCU's in Fort Worth, Texas, which is, in the Dallas-Fort Worth region of Texas. And he was on the West team representing TCU, and I was on the West team representing Stanford with my teammate Gary Wimmer. And I believe Chris Dressel. I think Chris Dressel was also on the team. Yep. So we had two other Stanford guys, and I don't know if there were any other TCU guys, but we had on our team a NFL Hall of Famer who I got to meet that week in Tokyo, named Eric Dickerson. And Eric, he was pretty amazing. Eric was a great running back, and I was very honored to be even on the team, to be as a fellow running back. And that was back in 1983. I think it was January of 1983. And that was my second time to Japan. My first time was playing on the USA baseball team. And my teammate, who was drafted number 1 in the NFL 1983 draft, he was the number 1 pick. And that was Mr. John Elway. And we were on the USA baseball team together. And there's a great 30 for 30. If you get a chance on ESPN, I think it's called 30 for 30, that talks about John and Dan Marino and the Baltimore Colts and the Denver Broncos and all the different maneuvers back then. And this is before the internet, before, just so many experts, because everyone's an expert. Everyone can have their own podcast. And it's pretty amazing what's going on in the world of sports. And so what we're going to start with, and hopefully we'll get Greg back on here. And if we don't, we'll put him on via the phone. But I want to first send my prayers to Don Hasselback's family. Don tragically died a week ago Monday, and Don was one of our Raider teammates, Donald William Hasselback. He was a great player, and he was on our Super Bowl team, and you can see him actually in this picture. He is standing right next to Greg Townsend. So Greg's number 93, and there's Don right there, number 87. And my heart goes out to his family. You probably recognize his name because he and his wife, Mary Beth, what we call Betsy, they're the father and mother of Matt Hasselback, who took his Seattle Seahawks to the Super Bowl, and then their other son, Tim Hasselback, and Tim was a NFL quarterback as well, and Tim is married to Elizabeth Hasselback, and you probably know about Elizabeth Hasselback because she was for many years a TV personality and talk show host on The View, which, she from 2003 to 2013, Elizabeth Hasselback was on that show, The View. So my prayers and my heart goes out to Betsy and her children, the whole Hasselback family. Don will be missed, but we know, as we say, he's in a better place. So, and Don was part of our Super Bowl team. So let me just check in again with our brother Greg Townsend, see if he's got hooked up here. Hold on. Let me see if he's on. Okay. Here we go. I sent it to him, but we'll see. Let's see if he got it. Maybe I didn't text it right to him. Let's see here.
Hey, Mike.
Did you get it? Did you get the text?
No, it never came through.
You know what? Maybe I got the wrong number. Okay, hold on. Wow. Well, God works in mysterious ways. He's making it difficult for us, but let me just see. Let me see if I got the right number here. Oh, you know what? My bad. See, I usually don't do this. I usually email, and I emailed this to you, but it's okay. It was my bad. I got the wrong number.
Okay, good.
Okay. Wow. Well, there's always a first. Let me see if I can get this here. Okay. Wow, I don't want to copy that. See, I usually use an iPhone. I have an Android and an iPhone. Mm-hmm. And it's I want to see if I can copy. Okay, there we go. I'm copying. Okay, copy. Now, I'm going to go back to text. Start the text. Yeah, I put the wrong number in. See, I have two different numbers. One cell phone has 20,000 people on it, and the other phone has 10 people on it.
So you might have another guest tonight.
Oh, really?
I'm just saying.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. They can look. Okay, hold on. The last digit of it's 06. What's the last?
53.
There we go. That's where I'm screwed it. I messed up. Okay, here we go. Now we click that. And now we're going to get it. Okay, here we go. Bada bing. Okay, I'm going to hang up.
Okay, good deal.
All right, brother.
All right.
Okay. Well, before Greg joins us, and hopefully he'll join us, but I could talk forever. I mean, I really could talk forever, but we're going to say who's sponsoring this show, Champions on the Dot? Well, I don't know if you can see it, Seymour. And this is the amazing putter. And I don't know if you can see it, the red dot. It's Seymour.com. Oh, there's the dot, the red dot. And this putter is what Payne Stewart, the great Payne Stewart, used to win that famous U.S. Open where I believe it was his last, he won 2 U.S. Opens and it was his last one. He used the Seymour putter. And some of the great golfers have used Seymour. And my good friend Jim Grunberg, who did the call, he was the voice of KZSU Sports when our band came on the field at Stanford. He's the chairman CEO of Seymour Putter, and this is a great putter. And all you have to do is go to, and I'll put it up on the board here. Here we go, the ticker. There it is. To learn more and order your new putter, you can go to store.seymour.com. Oh, there's Greg. Let's see if he's calling. Hopefully he's going to get on. We're hoping. We're keeping our fingers crossed. Also, this portion of Champions on the Dot is sponsored by True Hydration, the best water in the world. And if you want to know more about if you want to order it, you have to do. Oh, there he is. There's Greg.
Here I am.
Greg, brother from another mother.
You did it, brother. You pulled a rabbit out of your hat on that one.
You know what? It's my bad, Greg, because I assumed, and you know what? When you assume, you make an ass out of, I don't even want to say it.
I know what you mean.
I assumed I was sending it to your computer.
Correct.
But you know what? You look good, brother.
Phone, yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
why need a computer? Why use a computer when you look so good with your phone?
Hey, but we're here now. That's the important part.
Well, I'm going through what?
We made it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, well, we're going to get into it. We are going to get into that because there are people out there listening to us right now around the world that love the Raider Nation.
Hello, everybody.
This portion of Champions on the Dot and the great Greg Townsend has been brought to you by True Hydration. And if you're interested in the True Hydration, all you have to do is go to that link below, and there's a link to True Hydration. It's the best water in the world. Hydration, as you know, Greg, it's critical to your health. 2 things: hydration.
It's one of the most important things, and sleep.
That's it.
And a little exercise.
Yeah. Motion is medicine, right, Greg?
That's right. Body in motion stays in motion.
Greg, I was telling our audience about where we met. Can you tell everybody where we first met? Go ahead.
In the Japan Bowl. In 1983, 1983 Japan Bowl. We met there, and you knocked on my door, and you wanted to see if anybody wanted to partake in a talent show that they were having that night. And I said, well, I ain't doing nothing. And I love displaying little talent I do have. So we put together a little choreography, and we got up on stage and took first place.
Yes, we did. And you know what? That was in January of 1983. We didn't know at the time that we were going to be teammates.
Had no idea. And that was the cherry on top. I would say that we became even teammates after that.
And we had no idea we were going to get one of these the next year.
No, that we'd be styling the bling bling.
Where is your bling? Where's your bling?
My bling is in the safe, man. So
oh!
I know, right? Look, I knew I was going to be doing this interview with you, and I knew that was going to come up. And I was like, okay, I hope Mike don't bring it up.
Hey, Greg, I show the bling I wear this as often as I can because you know what? When people look and they say, what is that? and people say Henry Lawrence in particular says, "Don't take the ring off." Killer said, "Don't take the ring off."
That was the thing that I most admired about our rookie year, that a lot of players were wearing their rings around us. And it kind of made us hungry, at least me. It made me hungry that I can obtain one of those things. And our rookie year, we did it, brother.
Hey, Greg, remember when we first went to El Segundo and we had our first mini camp? And remember we came off the bus and all the players, all the veterans were clapping and they're greeting us off the bus. And we went into the room. We went into the meeting room with Coach
Correct.
Flores. With Coach
Uh-huh.
Flores. And do you remember what he said, his first speech when he talked to us? Do you remember what he said?
I vaguely do, but it probably went somewhere along the lines of going to the playoff is normal for this team. This team trying to reach the Super Bowl every year.
Hey, Greg.
Was it along those lines?
It was along those lines. And Greg, I'll never forget it because he said, "We're going to win the Super Bowl."
Mm,
Greg, he
we're going to
said
win.
that.
Yeah,
Greg,
but
he
I
said,
don't
"We are
know.
going to win." He didn't say we're going. I'm telling you right now, because when he said that, I remember saying, "Whoa."
Well, I mean,
And
I don't.
and
I,
go ahead.
I, I took it as he couldn't. What was he going to say? He couldn't say we wasn't going to go to the Super Bowl, right? The
Well,
season just started.
most coaches don't talk like that. They don't know.
Well, I'm quite sure they heard that in every training camp. You know what I mean? I'm almost sure they heard that in every training camp around the league. It's just
Well,
that ours
this
manifest.
Greg, this is what I think. I could be wrong. I think, and you played, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, you played your entire career with the Raiders, right?
No, I played 12 years with them. I played that 1 year with Philadelphia.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Well, you're right, doesn't count. Matter of fact, I had retired from Philadelphia, and the Raider fans were telling me, Townsend, you can't retire as no Eagle. You got to go back to the Raiders and retire from there. And that's when I went back and played with the Raiders in '97 and finished my career there. So I understood well what the Raider fans was telling me.
Well, share with people what it was like because, how many years ago was that? 1980, 83. That was the draft. And that was the draft where my teammate, John Elway, was the number one pick.
Correct. Yeah. First player pick. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Greg,
And
share our audience what it was like for you. You were a horned frog, and you taught me how to do this. You taught me,
yeah,
horned frog,
yeah,
baby.
brother. And
Tell
you always
our
got to hold it up
audience,
high. You always
hold
got
it
to
up.
hold it up high too. Yeah. So,
Hey,
but yeah,
tell our audience.
the day I got drafted was surreal because I didn't expect it to get drafted. I was one coming out of a small college of TCU, and I was playing defensive end. So at 235 pounds, that is not a pro type of defensive end you want. But when I got over to the Raiders, when they selected me in the fourth round, I was very surprised by that. So when they got me in the camp, uh, they turned me into a speed rusher, which they call edge rusher today. And my first day, Earl taught me 5 pass rush moves because I came over from college with no pass rush moves. And from
Tell
there,
tell them about when you say Earl. Our audience, there's a picture right there of Earl Leggett because Earl Leggett worked with you and number
yes,
75. Number 75. Who's number 75 up there?
Howie Long
And
and
who's number
Al
77?
Zato, Al Zato,
And where's Reggie?
Reggie Kinlaw. You're right. He worked with all of us, and all of us were great in our own way. And Bill Pickell, and he was a rookie alongside of us. They picked him in the second round, and it was just fun. It was just so much fun in my rookie year to contribute to the team, what they had going, because I'm just glad that them veterans like Howie and Reggie and Lau just put me under their wing. And I mean, when I did something good, they let me know it, and that was always uh, the reason why I was playing as hard, just trying to get some uh, credibility from my teammates. That was a thing I'd always pride myself on, is getting respect from my peers. So at that point, it just became so much fun, and the rest is history.
Well, Greg, the history you have is amazing because you played 12 years as an Oakland, well, Los Angeles. Let me say that. It wasn't the Oakland Raiders. It was the Los Angeles Raiders. We had already moved, but you weren't on the team when they moved back to Oakland, were you?
Correct. That was when I finished in '97. They had moved back to Oakland. Yes.
So did you play in Oakland?
Yeah. Yeah. I played in Oakland '97.
So 1 year you were in Oakland.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
That was my
Right.
last year.
Yep.
Hmm.
So you were an Oakland Raider
And it was,
and a Los Angeles Raider and a Philadelphia Eagle. Wow.
yeah. In the game when I went back in '97, it wasn't the same game. It was different. It was so different. It was it had it sort of speak had passed me by. It
Well,
wasn't
Greg,
it wasn't
our audience
it wasn't
doesn't
the
really,
brand. Yeah, it
our
wasn't the
audience,
brand of football we were playing.
well, Greg, I want to share with our audience, you are the all-time sack leader in Raider history.
Yes, the first and only. There, I set the record, and it's been the record ever since. Because sacks came as a stat in the NFL in 1983. I mean, I'm sorry, 1982, and then I came in the league in '83, and I just kind of tore the lid off of it.
How many sacks did you have, Greg?
In my career, I had 107 and a half with the Raiders, but I have 109 and a half total.
And where does that rank in the sack? All like Deacon Jones and some of the great sack.
Today, when I left the league, I was ranked number 13, and now is ranked number 23 now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Who's number?
yeah.
Who's number one?
Bruce Smith is with 200 sacks. So I know nobody going to touch that one.
Wow. And
They ain't gonna, they not even going to get really close to 100 anymore, even though they have more opportunities now. But what it is, linemen are more better pass blockers. Let's just say that now, to where they're not as good as they run block as they used to be. When we played, it was the other way around. They were better at run blocking and not so good at pass blocking.
Oh, yeah. The game has changed. I think a lot of the reason, Greg, is our understanding about chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the brain injuries.
Yeah, but the fans don't care about that. The fans just want to see hard hitting football, man. They don't, that stuff we care about later on, but the fans don't care about that stuff. They just want to see some hard hitting football. The fans come to see stuff that we doing out there on the field that they could never dream of doing. So that's what they really come to see. Something really spectacular and amazing, and something exciting. Yeah.
Well, and my father was a major league baseball player in the 50s.
Uh-huh.
And when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a major league baseball player. So I played baseball and in American football. And, it used to be back in the 50s, America's pastime was baseball. It was the number one sport was baseball. Jackie
Yeah.
Robinson and Pete Rose and all that. But American football, which is, it's the gladiator sport. And Greg, you were one of the great gladiators of all time, Greg. You and Howie Long and Lyle Alzado and Bill Pickel and Reggie Kinlaw and Ted Hendricks. You guys, because I always tell my friends, they say, how did you win that Super Bowl? We had a great defense, Greg, and you were part of
Oh,
that.
we had a great team.
I think if you look back on that team, if you really look hard, you might not have to look hard, but if you really look, that team was so talented, you really couldn't say who was the star. I think Marcus couldn't have did that without what he had. I couldn't have did that without what I had. Especially when you have people like Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes and Van McElroy and Mike Davis in the backfield who could cover guys one on one and can make the quarterback hold the ball more than 3 seconds. That was, it was a team um, effort in all of that. Um, I don't think you can just point one guy out and say he could have did it, without what he had.
Well, as you know, American football is the ultimate team sport. I know as a running back, you can't do anything unless you're offensive lineman and you're wide receiver. You can't. You are no good. You have to say to the and that's why the running backs, when they do well, they buy all their linemen gold watches and they take them.
Exactly. They
Eric
hook 'em up,
Dickerson.
right?
I was telling everyone on that Japan Bowl team, Eric Dickerson was our teammate.
Sure was. Sure was. He was on the team as well. I remember us taking a picture together, him and I, down there at the lobby area when we had to do some kind of function over at Japan. And I tell you what's so classy about Eric, it was the same year, his rookie year, that he broke the rushing record or set the rushing record. He came into town to Tampa where we were staying. And I saw him when he got out the cab, and he was the first one congratulating me going to the Super Bowl because him and I played against each other in college. And so we knew of each other back in college. And he was the first one to congratulate me. And he said something that I did not expect when he says, Greg, it couldn't have happened to a better person. I did not see that part coming. So with that, uh, that was big coming from Eric Dickerson.
Yeah. Well, you played against some great players through the years, Greg. And as I said, 13 years as a professional American football player. The average lifespan of an NFL player, and I tell my friends, I tell them that NFL stands for not for long.
Yeah, not for long.
But in your case, 13 years, I mean, that's 10 years above the average. I believe, isn't it the average lifespan is 3 years?
It's 3.5, I believe. Three and a
3.5.
half, but 3 years is where things start to turn or not turn. You know what I mean? If you're not, so to speak, being the talent that they drafted or that they picked up in 3 years, they could just say bye bye to you too. So 3 years was the crucial point to either come out of that college thing that you had and become a pro, or either you got hurt, something like that either happened to you. So, because our practices, they were rougher than the games. so, so with that, you can always get hurt anytime.
Well, that's the game has changed today. The practices today were not like the practices when we were playing.
No, and that's why that's the big part why the game's changed too. We used to frown upon San Francisco for having light practice, like when they would have uh, helmet day and shorts day and pool day, but they were winning, so you you couldn't knock it. But dare you dare to try that. But at the same time, today I think they only have 15 padded practice a year. So with that until I can see why guys are getting knocked around.
Yeah, because they're not practicing, and that probably the incidence of injury might be higher today because of
It is.
yeah, yeah. Well, let me
But
ask you, what?
okay,
No, go ahead.
go ahead. No,
Well,
you
no,
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, um, you had an amazing career, and is there any, obviously winning a Super Bowl is a highlight, and that's something that Marcus Allen, one of the greatest running backs of all time, he's got one Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's this one. Um,
Yeah.
Tom Brady, for whatever reason, was Tom Brady a 6th round pick? 6th round?
Seven. Seven.
7th round pick.
Yeah.
He's got what? He went to Tom Brady went to 10 Super Bowls and won 7.
See, 7th round pick, 1-7.
I know. John
That
Elway,
guy.
my teammate John Elway went to 5 Super Bowls, and the last 2 years of his career, he was going to retire. Last 2 years, he got the ring.
And he was going to retire before he got the ring at one time. They had to
Yeah.
really talk him into coming back.
Yep.
I know the way I used to play, um, it was good quarterbacks like John Elway who really got me to get it up for the game. So I know if I could have had a chance to play against Tom Brady, that would have been exciting for me too. And or Brett Favre, I would have loved to play against those two guys because they seem to be guys that can will things to happen, just like our friend John Elway. When things were tight, he can will things to happen like nobody's business. So you had to be on your toes and your P's and Q's and keep your assignment with that guy because he can be all over the field and he can run a little bit downfield too. So it was just all of that that made me want to play against always guys of that caliber. So
What was
throw Patrick Mahomes in there too.
what was it like playing against John Elway?
I tell you, it seemed like that whole week everybody was nervous about him that he could do so many things, and that's why you had to play him with discipline. He can just do so many things with his feet. He had a strong arm, and he just had this will to compete. And so with that, you just knew that week it was going to be a football game for real this time because it was going to be from start to finish with that guy. It was going to be 60 minutes of football.
Do you have a memorable moment of something you could share with that? Do you
I have
remember? Like,
so many with John. Me and John, it just I average sacking him um, uh, 4 times a year.
wow,
Yeah, we played against him twice a year, so I've always got 2 sacks against him the average. Sometimes I
every
got
game,
3, so
every
sometimes I got
game,
1.
every game,
Well, when I'm saying that's an average. I'm saying that's an
right?
average. That's not a every game I'm getting 2. Some games I got 3 and some games I got 1. So it'll average out to that because I have 45 sacks against John Elway in 10
45.
years. So 45, not 4 or 5, 45. And
Wow.
and 2 of them are safeties.
Wow. Yeah, well,
And I did get a pick six off from 1988 when um, Coach Shanahan first came over to coach us because he was John Elway's coach over there, and so that week that we was getting ready to play him, he was another guy to just again tell you what all John could do. So you got to do this, Greg. You can't do this, and you got to do this, and you can't do that. So it looked like everybody was on pins and needles when it came to playing against him. So I just know I had to kind of pacify them a little bit by playing good against him, so they could be a little reassured that they had somebody that could compete with him.
Hmm. Well, what were some of the memorable, like obviously Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl against the Redskins was memorable, but was there some, just a story that you have that our audience, that was just something that's top of mind that you say, boy, you know what? The Raider Nation would love to hear this story.
Yeah, I think they would love to hear this story. I think it was 1990, and we were talking about our friend Jerry Robinson, and Jerry Robinson and I was roommates at the time, and we were playing against the Redskins, and Jim Lachey was the offensive lineman then, and Jerry caught an interception, and Jim Lachey kind of laid him out, really laid him out, knocked him out, and Jim Lachey kind of, when Jerry got knocked out, he fumbled the ball and Jim Lachey recovered it. And so he put the ball on Jerry's stomach like as to taunt him. And that just lit the fire on me, man. I right after that play, the next play, because they got the ball back by him recovering the ball. The next play, I got a sack on him, got us the ball back. And what happened after that, I rat-a-tat 4 sacks against Jim Lachey in the second half of that game because it just pissed me off what he did and how he did it. And I just had to get some get back.
Call it get back. I like that. Got to get back.
Some get back. That was a good story. But, I have lots of stories. A lot of them against John Elway, a lot of them against Kansas City, because back in my day, they used to keep the tight end in. They put a what we call a jumbo, put 2 tight ends on one side, and that's who'll be blocking me. And then I have to get through the tackle as well. And it was just them kind of games that I knew when they were trying to stop me. I perceived they were, I perceived they were trying to stop me, and it just made me fight and gut it out even harder. I think what I've always liked, again, I said, I always want that respect with amongst my peers. So it wasn't nothing they could do against me that I couldn't fight my way through it. And that was one thing I pride myself on too, because San Diego did it, the Chiefs did it, and those are the 2 teams I know that did it the most. But uh, a lot of teams just try to do that. That was one of my prideful things, that when they tried to double or triple team me, that I could fight through it. And I remember that one game we played against Chicago, and when there's even another defensive end that's a star in the league like Richard Dent, when a good defensive end come to town, or I go to their town, that's another time for me to show off too, because I always looked at that as let's see who's the best defensive end going to show up today. So that one always fired me up, and I always play well in those type of games too. And then the type of games I always play well in is when our running backs play good. When our running backs play good, I play good, because then I'm trying to match that play. So it was always that kind of competition. I looked at it as to compete with other teammates or either other guys across the field from me. So I always found a reason to play good, put it like that.
What was it like, Greg, to play with 2 Heisman Trophy running backs, Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson? Tell us some about Marcus and Bo.
Okay, first I'm gonna start with Marcus because he started off with us, and Marcus was one guy that you did want to get up off the bench and see how he ran, because he ran with so much creativity and, and so much durability that no matter how he set himself up, nobody could never get a clean hit off of him. So that's one thing I always try to watch for. And with Bo, oh my God, that was one guy that you didn't even go to your seat. You didn't even go to your seat. You sit there on your helmet and watch him from day one and just think anytime he gonna take off with this ball and do something spectacular with it. And so that was his thing. Matter of fact, it came down to I even nicknamed Bo the Muhammad Ali of football, because a lot of his big runs, he predicted those. He used to tell me all about what he was going to do when the next time he get in the game. I remember one game against the New Orleans Saints. Uh, we were playing, and he said, "Next time I get in the game, I'm gonna bust 60 on him." And so when he got in the game, I did the math real quick, and he was about 6 yards short of the touchdown, right? And and he ran out of bounds on the 6 yard line. And he come back to the sideline like he had pulled a hamstring. And I'm looking at him like, really? You could have scored. And he looked at me like, I told you 60. I didn't say 61, 62, 60. I said 60. So that that just always made him exciting to watch him play. I just loved it.
Well, Brian Holloway, Brian, Big Brian, remember
Correct.
Brian?
Yeah.
Yep, number
I remember
76,
Brian.
and he was your left tackle for a couple years, and he he played in that game when you were up in Seattle, and Bo took that ball down and he ran. It was like 100-yard dash, and he blew everyone away, and he ran into the tunnel. And
Yeah.
and Rod Martin, and I think Matt Millen and all they ran into. Did you run into the tunnel to congratulate him?
No, I didn't. I was too tired. But listen to this though. Um, that was the first time we won in Seattle when Bo came. We won in Seattle for the first time, at least in our career, the time that we were there, from 83 all until that time in 87. I believe that was in 87 when he came. That first time we beat Seattle.
Right. And was that Monday Night Football?
That was Monday Night Football. You know how the Raiders play on Monday Night Football.
Yes.
Because I
So
got my rookie year. That's when I got my fumble on the Miami Dolphins and scored on Monday Night Football my rookie year.
I remember.
That
I
was
was there.
that was fun. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, we had a great team, and you mentioned it. We were a team. I mean, and that's one of the things. The message for all of you out there that want your team to win. Well, for them to win, they have to play as a team. I don't know, was it Walter Payton or someone said there's no I in team?
And I'll tell you, the biggest credit to that should be going to is the coaches. The biggest credit when you got that much talent on your team, the one thing as a coach you don't want to do is mess it up. Because you know what I mean?
And you know what?
You don't want to mess it up, man. So you got to know what you have and let them play. Let them do their thing and don't get in the way.
And coach them up. I mean, Earl Leggett was a great defensive line coach.
I tell you, but when we used to go out there and play the game, the one rule he used to have for us, and the one of his biggest pet peeve is when we jump off sides, because he just thought that was just a lack of concentration. And if you're not concentrating, you don't need to be on the field. So that was one of his biggest pet peeve, and that was the only rule he had for us. So we wanted to fight. We wanted to, do whatever we wanted to do to try to help ourselves win games. He didn't mind none of that. Uh-oh.
Well, Greg, there's some people that have texted in. It says, that's why Greg is the soul snatcher. Speed off the corner.
I love it. Yeah.
Did they call you? Did they call you the snow? Were you the soul snatcher?
No, they didn't call me the soul snatcher. They called me Sackman and Sackmaster. Yeah.
The Sackmaster.
Lester Hayes gave me the name Sackman my first day in the camp. When the pros came in the camp that same my rookie year, Lester Hayes says Sackman 3.5, and I didn't know who he was talking to. Right?
He wasn't talking about Lyle. He was talking about number 93.
Yeah, I mean, you talking to anybody but me. And he go, hey, I'm talking to you, Sackman 3.5. I'm gonna turn around. 2 things should be happening. And I go, what? I'm so rookie-ish, right? So I go, what? He goes, either the quarterback is on the back or the ball is in the air, and I'm turning around 3.5. And I just thought to myself, that do I need any other assignments, right? But that was my job, so it was going along with my job to get back there in a hurry, to force this quarterback to throw the ball when he wasn't ready to throw the ball. And if he still had it, I was going to sack him.
Yep. Oh, there's a little comment here. Bo needed a long runway with all that smoke, speed, and power.
I mean, man, the whole thing about Bo that we always fantasize about if we could have had him for a whole season.
Hey,
If we could
by the
have,
way,
yeah,
these comments are coming from Brian Holloway. Brian Holloway calls you the soul snatcher.
yeah. See, I tell you, Brian always paid me a lot of compliment. Because I went against Brian in practice. So guys like him and Henry Lawrence, you know, they got me ready. They just got me ready to play. And in the sense that when you play practice against guys like that, oh, you can play against a lot of guys and make them look like, you know, college guys. Put it like that.
Well, I got for all of you that want to get in touch with Brian Holloway, there's on the ticker. Go to brianholloway.com.
Brian Holloway, that's my guy. Came over from the New England Patriots because they went to the Super Bowl at first, and then against that Bears team, and that
Well,
was a long night for them.
well, Brian,
But
Brian,
I'm glad he came over.
well, Brian, he led he and his teammates. They were the first Patriot team to go to the Super Bowl. Brian Holloway,
Wow.
the team.
Yeah, because the Patriot was one of those teams that you couldn't, I'm quite sure they said it too that year in '83. We're going to go to Super Bowl. I'm quite sure they said that too. Like Tom Flores said it to us. But it just the thing that they had to get past because I think they had a Ron Myers as they coach at one time, and then they finally got a who was that over there? Who was their coach over there in '85?
I think it was the wide receiver. Let's
Barry,
see,
yeah, Raymond Barry, yeah,
Raymond
that's who it
Berry.
was.
Yep, Raymond
Uh-huh.
Berry.
Yeah, so he's been a former player, and that's one of the things too, Mike. That that is one of my other pet peeves too. Back when we played, I would say 90% of the coaches they were former players that was in the league, and it was so easy to get coached up by a guy you used to watch play out there, and nowadays, it's about 90% the other way. About 90, maybe 95% of the guys has never ever played at that level, at the pro level, and
Yeah.
that that to me is a problem. That to me is a big problem.
Well, there's no question being able to play at the pro level. I have a theory, though, that the greatest players don't
Uh huh.
always make the greatest coaches.
I've heard that, and I kind of believe that too, because I tell you, I did a little coaching myself, and it's it's tough. It is tough to get them to do the things and see it your way. When you've been devoted to the game. Because I used to want my players, I still do, if I had some, to always train off the field. Don't wait to come to practice to get some running in or some lifting in or some kind of catching if you're a receiver, some throwing if you're a quarterback, or some kind of drill for you should be able to set yourself apart by working out on your own time. It just seemed like that's where the edge is. If you're gonna, most players will just wait to practice to practice. But if you practice before or after practice, that's giving you the edge on any opponent you're gonna come across. I don't care who they are. And it's just for me, I could never sell that to my players.
Yeah. Well, let's maybe segue, Greg, because you had an amazing professional career playing American football, and you played with some of the greatest football players in the world.
And I played in one of the best cities too, Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yep. The city.
Yeah, bro.
Yep. Yep. It's a great city. Now, Los Angeles, let me ask you, has Los Angeles changed since the time? Is it the same city, or what are your thoughts about Southern California? Because I went to high school just like you did. I went to high school in Southern California.
I mean, it have changed, no doubt about it. Over the years, to see how um, s- uh, um, I'm trying to think. First of all, how Staples Centers got built. Now it's called Crypto Center.
Right.
But to see how that guy came up, and to see how the SoFi building came up, to see how now I forget the name of the building now the Clippers play in, but to see how all that's been built in those inner cities, which used to be looking pretty run down, it done really beautified it a lot to where now you can get people to come there and and have a good time. I mean
Right.
the even the transportation stuff has worked out where the green line takes you all those places, and/or a bus ride would take you all those places. So you don't always have to travel by car, which I like as well.
You know what, Greg? I would love to come out. I've never been to SoFi, and I've heard it's a beautiful. Do you like how do you compare SoFi with now our new stadium in Las Vegas with Allegiant? How do you compare those two stadiums?
Well, they both are beautiful on their own. I mean, what our stadium offered. When I say our stadium, Mark did say the alumni built it, so our stadium. What it offers is the character of the Raiders. You just know it's a Raider team playing in that building because it's on black on the outside. You can even see the torch even from the freeway. So that to me, it yells a Raider Nation out in there. Uh, with SoFi, you can just tell the structure of that building is meant to say uh, we fit in LA just like any other building fits here because we're now uh, setting the standard because that building is built for orchestras. The swimming gonna take place in SoFi as well during the Olympics, and
Wow. They're gonna
yeah,
break.
it's
They're
just
gonna break. You know what? They're gonna break records. They'll have 70,000 people watching the swimmers.
and it's amazing that they're gonna. The guy was talking about it the other night that they're gonna build a structure where the swimming pool pretty much take over the whole field. And I'm just thinking, well, if you can think of some things, they can sure build them because that's going to be very nice for people to visit the SoFi Stadium that's coming for the Olympics all around the world.
And you know what they also do? I mean, it'll be interesting. They do this here at Yankee Stadium and in Wrigley Stadium in the wintertime. They build ice rinks in the
I didn't know
baseball
that.
stadium. Yeah,
I did not
and
know that.
well, and here I don't know if you know this because I was born in Canada. And did you know Ray Wilsey and I? Ray Wilsey, there's Ray,
The,
our running back
the running
coach.
back coach. Hmm.
Do you know Ray Wilsey was born in the same province I was born in, Saskatchewan?
No, I did not know that. I did not
Yep.
know you were born in Canada.
I was born in Canada. So, we played that ice hockey game up there.
Wow, look
Have
at
you ever
that.
been to have you ever been to a Los Angeles Kings game?
Yes, I have, and I love going to them. I love going to the game. I'd rather go to the game, the hockey game, than to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
That's how good it is. That's how good it is. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, Greg, you know the big house, University of Michigan?
the Blue Machine.
They call it the big house, where I
Okay,
think that don't they draw at the University of Michigan, isn't it 110,000 people, something like that?
I think it is because they even open up their grass area as well for them.
Well, they
And so,
played an
but
ice.
Ohio State said about that much as well.
Yeah, yeah, they're both
Ohio
big.
State. Yeah.
Yep. Well, this was a few years ago. Michigan wanted to break the all-time record for the most people to watch a hockey game. So they
Wow.
built an ice rink in the big house.
The stadium.
And it
Wow.
was Michigan State versus Michigan in their ice hockey teams. And they had
I love it.
110,000 people watched Michigan versus Michigan State play ice hockey, and they broke the record. It's the all-time record, the largest attendance for any ice hockey game.
I love it. See, they wanted to do it and they did it.
Well, speaking of do it, we're going to segue because they want to know, Greg, because you know football, and I know a little bit about football too. Our Raiders. There's a lot of people out there that are going to listen to this and they're going to say, hey, what is Greg Townsend? What can Greg give us some insight on our new coach, Pete Carroll? We've got a new great offensive coordinator. You know, our new offensive coordinator. He helped the Ohio State win their national championship. You know what we're talking about?
Chip Kelly, yeah.
Chip Kelly, yes, sir, Ray. And Chip is our new offensive coordinator for the Raiders.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So let me ask you: you got Chip Kelly, you got Pete Carroll, who's won a Super Bowl. You got Chip Kelly, who's been an amazing offensive mind, and we've got a defensive coordinator who went to Yale. He's a pretty smart guy, and we had, I'll never forget, and I'm gonna point my finger to him, Charlie Sumner, and I'll never forget. Yeah. I'll never forget Charlie Sumner, who went to William and Mary, and Charlie. I said, Charlie, Harvard's the oldest college, Harvard. He said, nope, William and Mary. And so the reason I say that is Charlie was a very intelligent defensive coordinator, very intelligent.
Yeah, but Charlie also, he played for the Chicago Bears too.
Well, our defensive coordinator, our defensive coordinator, right? Our new one that we've got he went to Yale.
No, I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Our defensive coordinator? Okay, let me tell you. He's been there for he's been there for a couple years, and he's an Ivy Leaguer. And the Ivies, the Ivy League, it's not, if you go to an Ivy League school, you're not a dummy.
Oh, no doubt. You're not a dummy. You didn't go to Ivy League school to play football. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he's a smart, and he's let me just give you.
But here it is, though. Here it is. That's one of my little pet peeves too. Whenever we're talking football, I don't think we should ever be talking smart.
Oh,
we should never be talking about the guy as smart. I need a tough coach.
Okay.
He don't need to be the smartest one. He needs to have some experience, but he don't need to be smart.
Okay,
that's what's going to get everybody in trouble.
Well, here's our defensive coordinator, and I apologize because I apologize to him because I should know his name like this because I love our Raiders. Patrick Graham, 17 years.
Oh, I didn't know that. I do know of Patrick. Yeah, I do know of Patrick, but I didn't know that he went to Yale, you say?
He's a graduate of Yale University.
Wow. I like Patrick too.
So yeah.
I like Patrick.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And he's been there. I don't know how long has Patrick been our coordinator for the Raiders?
At least I think ever since they got in Vegas.
Right. Yep. And he's coached all over. This is his 17th season in the NFL and his 4th season as the defensive coordinator. And prior to the Raiders, he coached with the New York Giants. And he was the assistant head coach there. And he was also a defensive coordinator with the Miami Dolphins in 2019. And he coached at Green Bay in 2018, the inside linebackers. So he's been 17 years coaching.
See, I'm a little biased. And I'm a little biased because I really had liked for Coach AP to stay there.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those situations he got himself into, and that, it's one of them political things. But back to Pete Carroll, though, I think Pete is going to be so good for our football team because Pete to me, he's big on energy. You got to bring the energy. You got to bring all the energy with this game, and that's one thing I noticed that the Raiders were lacking. That's why I think Max Crosby stick out such like he does because he got so much energy. Nobody else has it, so we only see his, and and we need more players coming with energy to the game so they can fly around the field because it's not going to be so much of a play here, a play there that's going to set us apart. It's going to be a lot of plays because we're going to have a lot of energy, and I think that's what Pete's going to bring to the thing. Now with Chip Kelly, I think I've watched him over the years when he was back in Oregon coaching, and I thought he was just such a good play caller. So if he's going to be a play caller for us, that's what I do like about Chip Kelly on that end. Not so much of of how the plays are, it's just the way he calls them in unison.
Well, we have a mutual friend, JT the Brick. You know JT,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
And
yes, yes.
and when you're talking about energy, when I listen to JT, he's always saying, "Hey, we need to pick up the pace." And the thing
Uh-huh.
with Chip Kelly, he was the first offensive coordinator. Remember how they would put the numbers up and they would speed the game up,
Yeah, with the no huddle, yeah.
the no huddle.
Hmm.
And you got to have energy. You got to have a lot of energy that you can't be sitting, you got to, let's go.
Well, and two, the one thing they did back in Oregon um, that you can always say they had more energy than the other team because the other team they were back on their heels trying to stay, substitute or not trying to match up or couldn't do it. Or it was just that type of deal. They had more than the other team, and that's really where it counts. As long as you got more than the other team.
Well, let's talk about right now. We got a new quarterback that's coming down from the Seahawks. What do you think about our new quarterback?
I like him. The one thing I like about Gino is that he don't mess it up. So if that's the case, then you always give yourself an opportunity to win games. Uh, the next thing I like with Gino too, he reminds me of that guy, John Elway. He really likes to compete, and nowadays with these quarterbacks, there's always somebody you could put yourself up against. With the quarterbacks in the league today, Mahomes and Josh over there at Buffalo, and all these quarterbacks. They bring in something to the table. So these days, if you a quarterback in the league, you might have you might stick out for the wrong reasons, meaning you're not playing well or you're not playing as well as some other quarterbacks and some other teams might, and your team might say we like the other guy over here. But that I think we were talking about the draft too, wasn't we, Mike?
Yeah, you know what? We were talking earlier today when I called you and said, "Are you ready to get on the dot? Champions on the dot?" And we talked about Pete Carroll when he won that Super Bowl up in Seattle. They had the beast, Marshawn Lynch. They could run
Yeah.
the ball. They had a great defense. Defense wins championships, right, Greg?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But they had a great running game in Marshawn Lynch. And the reason we were talking about it, I said, what about Ashton Junte, who's the running
And
back
and
from Boise?
and I also told you too. That's one thing I like to see the Raiders get back to. The pounding, the ground and pound game, and to where I believe it's always time of possession that helps you win games as well. And that's one thing I know the running game could do for you. It'll give you time of possession. But that Ashton and Jake T, he's the real deal. And I would love for the Raiders to have him because that would help that situation what I just spoke on about our running game. Because this kid, I think he carried the ball on an average of 27 times a game. And the one thing that sticks out about him too is the way he stands in the backfield before he gets the ball. He's standing there like he is waiting on somebody. like he's waiting in line for somebody in front of him.
Oh,
But
he's the real deal. You know,
he is the real deal.
I gotta give a shout out to our teammate Frank Hawkins, who I think let's see if where is Frank? He's let me see.
He's
I'll
on the
show you where
ground.
Frank. Frank is over here, number 27. There's
Yeah,
Frank, 27. Let's see, where is he? You see him
he
down
should
there?
be. He should be.
He's right there, 27. You
There he
see him?
is.
There he
Yep.
is. Well, Frank's in the College Football Hall of Fame. And was a great running back at the University of Nevada. And it was a great Raider. And I believe this Ashton Genty, he reminds me of Frank, but a little bit. I mean, I should say a little bit. I think he's got more speed than Frank.
Well, yeah, I think you know who he reminds me of a little bit is a little bit of uh, uh, Emmett Emmett
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Emmett Smith. And I tell you what, a little bit of that Barry Sanders too. He 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 has when he jumps in the hole, that looks like Emmett Smith. But when he's 1-on-1 and guys trying to tackle him, that's when he looked like Barry Sanders because they hard to get to him. They can't get to him.
Well, I got to ask you this, Greg, because, you know, in the last 5 or 10 years, a lot of the scouts have said, you know what, we're not taking running backs in the first round.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
what do you think?
well, I just hate it when the league acts so cookie cutter. You know, one
Yes.
team don't want to take a running back, and so they all start getting on board with not taking running backs, and that to me is just a, a recipe for uh, disaster because it's just the thing that brings a team is everybody getting their due, and nobody's just going to follow this suit of we just going to throw the ball uh, 50, 60 times a game.
Well, if the Philadelphia Eagles said, you know what, we don't need a running back, uh, they don't have a Super Bowl last year because Saquon Barkley, just like Marshawn Lynch, just like Marcus Allen. I mean, we can go down the list. Every Super Bowl team that wins has a outstanding running back, and as John Madden, who's one of our great Raider legends, John Madden said, you start with you build your team, and unfortunately, he didn't say defensive end, he didn't say running back. He said you built your team. Start with an offensive line.
That makes sense because look at it today. These teams today wants to go for it on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. So why not have a good running back that can get you them yards that you need to keep the ball in your possession? So that's why I don't know why they go that route because now you see them they throwing the ball on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2 and they're not fooling anybody.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think Coach Carroll is going to say, "Hey, we got to have we've got to move the pile, and we got to move. We got to have that push, and we got to run the ball." So that's a good thing
Because
for.
that'll take pressure off of Geno.
Yep. So Ashton Junty's available because the Raiders. Who else do you like out there? So who are some of the players when you think about what are the needs? What do you think the Raiders need to?
I don't know that kid. I don't know the kid's name, but they have a kid over there in Penn State. I guess he's a protege of Parsons because he wears that same number 11, and he's over there. And I love the way they move him around, and I love his energy. He reminds me a little bit of me. That's why I like him. And he's just
Abdul
nonstop.
Abdul Abdul Carter.
That's who he is. Yes, I love that guy. He's the defensive guru, in my opinion, because he's they put him at the end, they put him at linebacker, middle linebacker, and they just blitz him from anywhere on the field. And the guy always seemed to get there too. So I like him because he wreaks a lot of havoc. He can cause a lot of problems for offense. and offensive coordinators who's trying to set up to try to figure out how to block him like they do today with Parson. But he's come to mind too. But I think the biggest question everybody got in their mind about uh, Shador Sanders, where can he possibly land? And why us having Geno Smith, I don't know if that's a good pick. It might be because we still need a good quarterback for backup, because it's not if he's going to play this year, it's when he's going to play this year, because there's something going to go wrong with everybody for his injury here, injury there. So that could be the thing, because I don't think Shador, if anybody pick him, I don't think he should start this year for sure. I don't think he should come in with all that, because we've seen what happened to the kid over there at Chicago now, Williams. He just looked terrible this year. And then and the other kid over at Carolina, they
Well,
came in. Go ahead.
well, no, Greg, I believe if you throw a quarterback in too early and they get on their, they get tackled quite a bit, they don't get the protection. Mentally, you can really mentally mess up some quarterbacks.
Because sports is all about confidence, and if you lose that confidence, I mean, that's one thing. That's coach always told me 95% of the game is talking all that trash. The other 5 is bagging it up. So, once you stop talking trash and can't bag it up, what good are you? You're not good at all. So,
Well, you know what? The Raiders have a coach with 23 years experience, the quarterback coach, Greg Olson.
I like him. I like him a lot.
And Greg's going to be working with Geno. And who knows, trade up, if we could get Junty at the 6th slot and trade up to get Shador, because they're talking, I was listening to the radio, Shador might not go until the latter first round.
And I'll say this about that, though, too, Mike. I know quarterbacks have a good sticker price, or some good ones are hard to come by. But I'm watching this stuff nowadays, and I don't see too many quarterbacks that I wouldn't even pick, because they all got what it takes. It's just some that's better than the others, but they all have what it takes. And for, like you said, with Greg Olson, a good quarterback coach could coach anyway. I mean, because half the time the quarterback is facilitating the ball. We don't need him to do anything other than that. Just give the ball to the running back, or throw the ball downfield to somebody else that's open. So
a great example of that was, remember Trent Dilfer?
Yeah, I remember Trent.
And Trent was quarterbacking for the Tampa Bay, and he was struggling and everything. And then he got traded to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
And they told Trent, hey, Trent, just don't turn the ball over. Just don't turn the ball over, because the Ravens had a defense.
Yeah, they have a defense.
And you're in every game, because you're not going to score too many points against the Ravens. So all Trent, don't turn the ball over. Just, be methodical. And you hit the nail on the head. At that level, at the NFL level, everyone can play. The key is, in my opinion, and I think you would agree, you got to coach them up. Everyone that's got to be coached up. You were coached up with Earl Leggett. I'm sure Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady personally, if Tom Brady got drafted by the San Diego Chargers, he would not be the GOAT, in my opinion.
I see. I got you.
That's just my opinion. I think he got with Bill Belichick, and they probably had a pretty good quarterback coach there. And the Patriots had good defense. They won it. They had good defense, and that's why they got 6 rings there. And then he did. And then what Tom Brady did, I love what he said. Hey, I want to play one more year. And he said, I don't care about how much money I want to pay. I got to get a great offensive line. And he won a Super Bowl in Tampa.
Yeah. And I say this much too. Now, when you say he could have played in San Diego, he probably wouldn't have been the GOAT. Maybe that could have been early on, but a few years into it, you can tell Tom was in charge of that team. There was time when Tom didn't even have a good offensive line. There were times when he didn't even have a good wide receiver crop. And he made something out of that because he knew how to tell those guys how to get the best out of that whole ordeal. So
Well,
maybe early on he couldn't have did it, but later on in his career, Tom knew exactly what to do when he needed to do it. And like you said, he proved that when he went to Tampa and did it without the New England Patriots.
no question, Tom had this right here, and he had the heart.
Yeah.
No question, he had
Yeah.
this in the heart. He didn't have John Elway's athletic ability. Nope, he didn't have it. But he had this and this, and he had Bill Belichick, who I think did a heck of a job. I mean, come on, it just he did it, and they had a great, But here's the thing. I want to ask you what? No, I want to
I was going
ask
to say
you, Greg.
Bill Belichick thing was that he kept that team disciplined, and that's what made that happen too. They wouldn't. You never hear about them players getting in trouble.
No, except for the tight end who Hernandez that had the mental thing, but very rarely, absolutely. And then the thing is, I'll give you Jim Plunkett as an example. Jim Plunkett, who is my alma mater's only Heisman Trophy, which Andrew Luck should have won the Heisman. Toby Gerhardt should have won the Heisman. We've had Christian McCaffrey should have won it, but they gave it to Jim Plunkett. He's our only Heisman Trophy winner. And he went to the New England Patriots, and he was on his back for 6 or 7 years. He was, on his back, got injured, and then he went to the 49ers, and just like John Elway, he was this close to saying, you know what, I'm done. And Mr. Al Davis said, because the Raiders were in Oakland, this is 1979. He said, hey, Jim, why don't you come over? We got this guy named Dan Pastorini. We'd like you to back him up. And Jim sitting there, just kind of like Brady in a sense, but older in his career. Pastorini in the 6th game breaks his leg. And Jim comes in.
Same way Drew Bledsoe did it as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very similar. And Jim comes in, but this is later in Jim's life. I mean, he would be, had surgeries, and he was not the same quarterback that he was coming out of Stanford, beat up. But he had this, and he had the heart and the leadership, and he knew football, and Mr. Davis and the coaches, and we talked about this earlier. But he comes in after Pastorini, and the team in 1980 was wild card. They go to the Super Bowl. They play Jerry Robinson, and Jerry, I know, Dick Vermeil in the Superdome. They're a wild card. And who's the MVP of that? I think it was our good friend Rod Martin, right?
No.
Rod had 3 interceptions.
But it was Jim Plunkett, I think, because he had 3 touchdown passes.
Did Jim Plunkett win the MVP?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Well,
yes.
Whatever. The Raiders won it, and Jim was this close to quitting, just like John Elway was going to hang it up, because John went to 3 Super Bowls, and he lost, and he was just tired. And Mike Shanahan came in and said, hey, we can do this. And they won back-to-back Super Bowls.
And it probably was the same thing. They both had, so much talent. And then when they first came out, everybody wanted to see it. And it was just going the other way for them. And I think that's what they both were struggling with was that pressure that people had on them to perform well. And you can tell from John, them Super Bowls that he was going to, they wasn't turning out good at all. I mean, matter of fact, it was quite down embarrassing. And that could have been a lot of things plays on your psyche, because I could imagine, Mike, if you can imagine this now when you kind of get away from me. If we would have lost that Super Bowl, could you imagine what we'll be walking around talking about?
Yep.
I mean, we'd be sounding like somebody stole Christmas from us. We'd be acting like we so sad that we got that far and didn't win it. And I can
Greg,
imagine that's how John felt,
Greg,
by not winning. Uh-huh.
how about, because he was drafted in our class, the 1983 class, in the
Correct.
first round, it was John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Tony Eason, and Todd
Yeah.
Blackledge. All pretty good
And
quarterbacks.
one more. What's the kid out of Cal Lutheran?
Oh, yeah, that's Cal Davis,
Oh,
UC Davis.
Cal Davis. O'Brien?
Tim O'Brien.
Ken O'Brien.
Ken
Yeah.
O'Brien. All good
Mhm.
quarterbacks. And Dan Marino and Jim Kelly, 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. One went to the Super Bowl in his second year and became one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And people said, oh, well, they're going to go back again.
Yeah.
Never went. They
Yeah.
lost to the point, never went back. And Jim Kelly, 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
And the kicker, what was his name? The kicker that missed it by this much?
Last name Norms.
Nordquist or whatever his name was. It began with, and whoever that kicker was, they say it's a game of inches, but can you imagine? Dan Marino and Jim Kelly went to 5 Super Bowls collect together, 2 great quarterbacks. They don't have this.
And see, we've always said this too. Yeah, they don't have that, but we've always said this. The game should not come down to the kicker. So that was hard for us to blame the kicker for losing the Super Bowl when, Buffalo themselves had such a awesome offense.
Well, we had
that
Chris
they couldn't
Barr.
do it.
We had Chris Barr. There he is.
But we never let Chris come down to that in the Super Bowl. Maybe in a playoff game or something like that, but never in the Super Bowl.
What was the greatest catch in Super Bowl history, Greg? John Madden called it. John Madden in our game against the Redskins in Tampa, the Super Bowl. Remember when the ball was hiked to Ray Guy and he went up with one hand?
Yeah,
and
that
caught,
one was.
And John Madden called that the greatest catch in Super Bowl history because he caught it with one hand, came down with it, and kicked it 60 yards.
He jumped real high. He jumped real high to catch it.
If that goes over his head, Greg, might be a different ball game.
It would have been a different ball game. Ain't no doubt in my mind. But Ray was that type of athlete that everybody always kind of scratched their head when they found out he was a number 1 pick. They go like, wow, they drafted a kicker, number 1. But no, Ray was more than just a kicker. And so it showed when it had to show. And that's why we drafted him number 1.
Well, he was our 3rd string quarterback because he could throw the ball further than Jim Plunkett and Mark Wilson. He could throw the ball 80 yards.
Yeah, because I think he came out of college even as a 2nd string quarterback.
And he played defensive back. And I didn't know Ray grew up in Georgia, and the University of Georgia wanted him and he was drafted in major leagues. He ran track. He was one of the greatest athletes to ever come out of Georgia. And people said, well, why did he go to Mississippi? He went to Southern Mississippi. Why did he go? And I learned because I went to his memorial service a couple years ago. I went to his service in Southern Miss. I was down there. They had it in the stadium, and people came up and talked about how great an athlete Ray Guy was.
But why did he go to Southern Miss when every team wanted him?
Because they said, Ray, you can play any sport you want. You can play offense, whatever you want. Where the other teams said, no. It was like when I was When I was
They
recruited,
handcuffed him.
yeah.
They
So
handcuffed him.
yeah, they said you can play whatever you want, Ray. Do whatever you want. So he went to Southern Miss, but Georgia really wanted him, but they said no. You're just gonna play football.
That ain't gonna. That ain't. See, yeah, I'm glad when when you see players and hear their stories like that, it becomes amazing that they had some insight about their own self at that such a young age. Because when you're that young, you're real impressionable, especially to these adults. Somebody says do something, you would just do it because they said it. And for an athlete to come out and have something to say about their own career or their own uh, things they want to get done, that's always impressed me about players.
Hey, I got to ask you, Greg, because you were a great All-Pro defensive player, Super Bowl champion. What do you think of Travis Hunter? And he wants to play both ways. What are your thoughts about? Is Travis Hunter going to be a great pro football player? And will he play both ways? And what are your thoughts about Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter?
Okay. Now, anything is possible. Anything is possible with that situation. I know a lot of people saying it won't happen, but I can't tell you what it's going to happen or not. I can tell you this much though: if you go to a team that's desperate to win, I bet he's gonna play both ways. So it's just going to be exciting to see who's going to get him and how they're going to use him. So, but I think he can do it though if he wanted to. And some people have put it in where they might make select plays for him, where he might play offense a few snaps here, or vice versa, a few plays on cornerback. But I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it can happen if that team wants to win.
Well, when I think of Travis Hunter, I think of Charles Woodson.
Yeah, and Deion Sanders for that
And
matter.
Dion. Yep.
So,
Just athletes, pure athletes. Yep.
and again, if you want to win, you would play. You would do what it takes to win. So if that's what it takes, I would do it if I was
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah. Well, I think the Kansas City
Yeah.
Chiefs, I think
Tell me what you think. You think you're going to go both ways? What
um
you think?
I think you're right. You said it right. I mean, I think if a team is really bent on doing whatever it takes, they'll play them. Yeah, I agree with you. But if there's a team that wants to see him around longer, because it is a it is a very
What team is
physical
that?
game.
What
I
what
don't
team
know.
is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know no team that wants you to stay longer. I
I
don't know no
know.
team wants you to stay longer.
Everybody wants to win right now.
Not
Except
for long.
well, some
But
players,
I understand what you mean. They want to take care of him and where they can build around him, so to speak, and maybe through the later years, things can flourish that way. I get that part too.
right. Well, I want to shout out to Mark Davis, Mr. Davis. Well, I call him Mr.
Yeah,
Davis, and I want to
yeah.
thank Mr. Davis for, um, for the alumni helping all of us uh, get back to the. We have this alumni gathering in June, which is. I hope all the NFL teams do this for their players.
I
And
do too.
why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what Mark has done, Mr. Davis, for all of us? Oh, are you there? Oh, there you go.
The biggest thing that I would say was a call trying to come through. I just declined it. The biggest thing I'm trying to say about what Mark did. Now, Mark grew up around the team too, and Mark is a little bit older than us. I mean, he might be 66 or something like that. But anyhow, he grew up around the team, and I know there was always a buzz that, especially with the first Super Bowl team, Super Bowl 11, 15, no, which one? Yeah, Super Bowl 11. That they were always wanting to do something that could get them back together again. And it was just a little buzz among players that said we should celebrate our Super Bowl once a year or something. We should get together and do something. And I remember hearing that even about Super Bowl 18 as well. But then as Mr. Davis passed, it became one. I believe that it became Mark's first thing he wanted to get done because right away when we were in Oakland. Not me as a player, but when I stopped playing, I could come to any football game I wanted to. They had two different places you can sit. So you pick one where you want to sit, and you can come anytime you want. It's not so much that way today because we are coming in as groups, probably somewhere along the line once or twice a year, and we always catch a football game that way. But the alumni group is one night that we all get together, young and old Raiders. And it's just the most magical night of the year to be around former, current, and, and players of the Raiders and share stories about our background and how we got there and what we seen each other do out there on the field. And it's just one of those things that you just say, I am. It's like football heaven, if you will. It becomes a thing that you say, these the only people in this whole wide world who gets me, who understands me, and I understand them too. So it'd be that type of magical night, and I love it that Mark has made that possible for us.
Yeah. Well, for example, Kenny King. I haven't mentioned Kenny, but Kenny, a great running back, a great running back. I get to see Kenny. Greg Pruitt. I'd love to see Greg. Marcus. I've seen Marcus at our events.
And Howie Long came to the last one as well.
And
So it
Bub.
was good to see him come back. And
Yep.
when you get guys like Howie and Marcus to come back because they were considered stars of our era, it seemed like that's when you get more people out there because um, just to see I hate to say it like that, but just to see the old regular guys that you see all the time is one thing. But to see a star player come out and hang out with you and treat you like a brother too. I tell you, they're Marcus and Howie are great with the fellas. I mean, it is magical to see them kind of get off that star level and come down to everybody's level and just appreciate the whole night for themselves.
And they're both an inspiration for how we should take care of ourselves because both Howie and Marcus, they look fantastic. They take good care of themselves. They get good, diets, and I'm sure they're in the gym. So they're inspiration for us that don't get into the gym as much.
And see, and here it is. They've always been an inspiration to us, right? They always been one of that on and off the field. They've been some good character guys to come from a team like the Raiders, right? And they've just done well with their life, and yeah, who wouldn't want to have a life like theirs? You know what I mean? And not trying to compare, but standing from the outside looking in, those guys had some wonderful life. They had some wonderful families and some wonderful careers.
Yep, and they continue to have amazing career. I listened to these commercials, a company called Comcast, and I think Howie's the voice of Comcast, isn't he? Isn't it
Hmm.
when they do the voice? Let me see. I'm just going to look that up. Who
Hey, is
does?
anything you did over there to make that volume go down?
Oh, I can turn it down. Yeah.
No, I want to turn it up. Turn it up.
Oh, turn it up.
Yeah, I can't hear you hardly.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Very few people say that.
Turn
That's
it
an
up.
unusual. I've never heard people say, "Hey, Mike, could you speak a little louder? I can't hear you." Or Soupy. Remember
Was
now? Do you know why I got the nickname? Now, what was your nickname? Sat?
Well, my nickname was Mr. T. I
Oh,
came in my rookie year, put that on my helmet, and put
yes,
Mr. T on my helmet. Yeah.
Mr. T. Because, we
Yeah.
all had
And then
nicknames.
Lester gave me the new name.
Yeah. Well, we all had nicknames. Everybody had nicknames.
Yeah. How did you get your name?
Well, I'll never forget. I was it was our first training camp, 1983, in the El Rancho Tropicana in Santa Rosa. And I had this blue jumpsuit. It was for the USA baseball team. I was on the USA Olympic baseball team, and we had just gotten back from Japan, and I was drafted by the Yankees, and I was thinking of signing, but you know what? I said, I'm signing with the Raiders. So I had this blue jumpsuit that had USA baseball, and I wore this jumpsuit into the training table where we're eating. And Kickham, who, by the way, that's Ted Hendricks, Kickham, who's number 83 up there. He sees me in the blue, at a distance, he sees me in this blue jumpsuit, and he says, Soupy Sales. And most young people don't know who Soupy Sales was, but he was a comedian, and he would wear strange outfits like clown. And so that was it. Ted Hendricks called me Soupy, and then all of a sudden, Double D, Dave Dalby, and the judge Lester, and Bub and Sill.
Yeah, I know the name took off and it stuck.
I was Soupy.
I think they still call you that sometimes today, don't they?
Well, in the last game I played in, which was the next year, we were playing the 49ers, and I guess they knew I was going to get cut because I was trying to play a running back without an anterior cruciate ligament.
Wow.
Because back then they didn't have the technology. So I was trying to be a running back. So someone, I guess, told Romo, Romo, remember our equipment man?
The equipment guy, yeah.
Not his son, but the legendary Romo. And they said, Romo, can you do a jersey for Soupy? And so in my locker, I had.
Did they do that?
It was Soupy on the back. It wasn't Dot
on the back.
For the 49ers. We're playing the 49ers. So anyway, yep, that was my nickname, Soupy.
Oh man, I wish you would have. Do you have a picture of that?
I don't think I do, but
I know. I do that all the time. It was after the fact. I'd be thinking I should have had a picture of that.
Oh, can you imagine if we had these iPhones? We would have taken pictures all the time. You know what though?
Yeah.
We would have some of us would have gotten in trouble though.
Because even with the camcorder, we was trying to record everything with that. You know what I mean?
We would have gotten in trouble. So, Greg, what we do on Champions on the Dot, I think what we want to do is give you the last word, because there's people listening all around the world. And, we had the number one champion on the Dot was Todd Marinovich. And Todd Marinovich, because it can tell you how many people watch the show. And Todd Marinovich, who was a number one pick in the number one Raider pick, he has the most, more people have watched that. But hopefully this will go viral because, Greg, you are a great champ. You're one of the great Raiders of all time. No doubt about it.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you, brother.
So here's what we do on the Dot. We give you the last word, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I think people are saying, when can we win a Super Bowl? I'm sure there's someone, out there. I don't know. Let me see if there's any questions here. Let me look. If there's any questions, because people can ask questions. Okay. I know that people say, when can the Raiders get back to the Super Bowl? Because it's been since 1983, since our rookie year. I mean, I shouldn't say it. They got back to the Super Bowl with Rich Gannon and
2002, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we, Coach Gruden, he knew the whole playbook. So that was
yeah, but that's that I never put no validity to that because I just still thought he's not playing. So if he ain't playing, it ain't no use to him knowing it.
Yeah, but in any event, the bottom line is we haven't won a Super Bowl since our rookie year, and there's Raider Nation members out there that want to see the Raiders go back, just like the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are waiting for their next Super Bowl. But I'm gonna I'm gonna get
Nope.
off the stage. I'm gonna get off the stage, and you get the last word. You talk as long as you want. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. I'll just when you say what you want to say. And again, Greg, it's a great honor to have you on Champions on the Dot. You are a true champion, and it was just
Well,
thank
I
you so
enjoyed
much.
myself on the dot. It's always good to talk to former teammates, especially guys I've won trophies dancing on talent shows with. It's always good to talk to you, Mike, and it's always to be in your company and to support you in whatever you're doing, brother. I would love to always be part of that because we just go back so far. And here's my last word. I'm gonna say the Raiders going to win a Super Bowl soon. I think they're going to win one really soon. Uh, it's that team in red they got to get by. I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. So, and we done beat them in a lot of crucial situations. So, I don't think that's far from the future for us getting a Super Bowl champ. But here's one of my biggest pet peeves: is when a car is stopped in front of you at a light. Somehow you got to be able to see the back of that tire. So if that car stalls or don't want to go, you can always go around it very easily. And two, it's not good to be for the person in front to be staring in the back in their rearview mirror and they could see you. That's just too close. And stop speeding on the highways. Slow it down. If you need to get somewhere in a hurry, get up early. Leave the house early. Don't be leaving at the regular time and be tearing up the road when you're going down there. I'm on the road. I need people to drive safe on the road. Accidents is just that, is an accident. It don't it shouldn't happen if you know how to drive. That's my biggest thing I want to leave on the dot. No tailgating, no speeding, and please do not drink and drive.